What's up, hybrids? Welcome back to another episode of the Fandom Hybrid Podcast. This is Hanako, and I am here with Michelle, and we are discussing episode 23 of the final season of The Walking Dead. This episode is titled Family. Hey, Michelle,
Yes.
how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm emotional.
I don't even know where to begin.
This episode, let me tell you, for it to be the penultimate episode, when I say they did not disappoint, they didn't pull any punches, they didn't play anything safe, at least in my opinion. Like, this is what a penultimate episode is supposed to be, especially for a series finale.
Mm-hmm.
But goddamn, did they have to? It's almost like they just took like a knife and just.
Well, they started at the end of the last episode.
Right.
Think about it.
Yeah.
So you.
Okay. Let's.
And we're close to the end, so we don't have time. We got to give you everything right now.
Yes, but golly, all this in one episode. Like I said, I felt like they stuck the knife in and they just turned it ever so slightly. Like every 10, 15 minutes, something would happen. And it was just like, And I was just like, y'all just really gonna do this to us. Y'all gonna kill us before the end of the series, right? Okay, let's start at the beginning. Let's start with the emotion, because this episode wasn't 2 minutes in and I'm already in tears. You get Judith's introduction like we have in all of the other episodes, and you see this big box of weapons, and they're all weapons that belong to our people. So as they start taking the weapons out, she starts talking about family and about the things that her family has done to get there. She talks about how she never got to meet her mother, Lori, about how her dad, Wick, prayed for mercy, and about how her mom, Michonne, wanted to hang up her sword, and how her brother Carl, I mean, she starts talking about all this thing about her family, and she's picking up her little sword. And it was so funny because I was like, that sword is so little to her now. Like, she was a kid when she started this show, and she's putting on the sword and she's talking about how, you know, she wants to be a part of the future that her brother envisioned. She talks about her mom, Michonne, and this secret little saying that she used to have with her dad, and how she was scared to say it, you know, how she was afraid to say a lot of things. And then she starts talking about the future. She talks about her brother RJ. When she put the hat on RJ's head, I started tearing up. I paused the TV. I was like, it's too early. It's too early. Because I felt like, it almost felt like she was giving a goodbye speech. And I was like, hold up.
Did.
I was like, if y'all kill Judith Grimes, I'm going to be so pissed off. Y'all can't do this. Y'all can't do this. But
it felt like it. And I didn't think, okay, well, it felt like it. So it wouldn't be any other thing going on. So it's okay. Until she said, I'm going with you guys. Wait a second.
Girl.
First of all, tell the children no.
Well, okay. So I have a different thought about that, because when she talks to Daryl and Daryl's like, no, I need you to stay here. She's like, that's crap. She was like, this is not the future my brother wanted. This is not what my mom and my dad fought for. She was like, we can be a beacon of hope for everybody else, and I want to be a part of that. Now, yes, I understand we're looking at her. Yes, she is a child. She is a child. But you have to think about it. Judith is not a typical child like everybody else on the show is a typical child.
Not.
So I think,
like, none of the kids. She's nowhere near.
None of them.
None of them.
She's way more mature. She's way more skilled. And yes, she is a child. I do understand that. But at the same time, I think she's at the point where she can actually be of some help. I mean, think about it. Carl was a lot younger than her when he was helping his dad and the rest of the group out. And yes, at his age, he did make some dumb decisions, but he was younger than her as she is now. And I think she has a lot more maturity. She's a lot more stable in her mind. Like, she sees things in an adult way, because if you think about it, she's largely been raised by Michonne and by Daryl. And Michonne, yes, as her mother tried to protect her, but Daryl has never coddled her. Daryl has never treated her like a child, and I think when you look at that, for her to stay behind when she knows she could probably help, I think that would have been, I don't know, it would have been belittling her. Like, you guys trained me, you guys taught me so that I could protect myself and learn how to protect others. Why do y'all keep leaving me behind?
And she talks to people and give them good sense, like Negan. Like, she was able to kind of talk to him and kind of help him see different things, just like Carl did. So, and she took the Constitution with her.
I know. I loved all that. Yep.
So she really thought, she was like, we're going to talk about this and maybe I can change some minds.
Yeah. Because I don't think she planned on, yes, we knew they were going to get into some fights. We knew it was going to be some problems because, of course, they just killed Commonwealth soldiers. They just killed the warden trying to rescue their kids. And now they're like, oh, yeah, we're coming for Pamela because they know she's behind all of this. So I know she expected to be in some danger. But again, she was with Daryl. She was like, okay, I'm going to be safe.
Right. And it won't be that extreme danger. They were just going to take Pamela and then talk to the people. And say how we need to make changes. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Take Pamela down. Once you take Pamela, because everyone else was disagreeing with Pamela, the common people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you wouldn't think there was too much danger, because once Pamela's gone, who's in charge?
Mercer, probably.
Right. And Mercer was like, everybody calm down. Let's hear the people out. You see what I'm saying?
He would have been, especially since he's on our side now. He's ready to fuck shit up.
So I wouldn't think that we would have that many issues.
Right.
Going on.
So I understand a lot of people who are saying, she's a child. You should have left her behind, or the adult should have made the decision. Judith hasn't been a child in a very long time.
Right. But you know what? You could at least try like you were going to really keep her home. Like, oh, no. Okay, you convinced me.
But see, he's done that. He's done that in other times, though.
I know. I'm going. Okay.
I mean,
we need you here. I'm going.
Think about it. They left her behind with the Whisperers. They left her behind in other, times, which she was smaller then. It was probably warranted. But like I said, she's practically in these times. She's practically an adult.
Judith is 30 years old. Okay. That's
in a 12, 13, 14-year-old body.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
Thank you. You only saw a little bit of a kid when she had the record. That's it. That's the only time.
Right. And you think about what happened if she wouldn't have been there. Because, in this episode, okay, we might as well say it because anybody who's listening, they know. In this episode, she gets shot, but Maggie would have been dead.
Yeah.
Because Pamela was aiming directly for Maggie.
Mm-hmm.
And it just so happened when Judith pushed her out the way, she was moving. So she only got hit in the shoulder or the arm? I think she got hit in the shoulder.
Shoulders.
But had she not been there, had she not seen that, Maggie would have been gone.
Mm-hmm.
So, not saying that, she saved her Aunt Maggie. In her mind, after all of this has happened, she would probably think, oh, yeah, that was worth it.
She would say that.
Think about it. At this point, her brother had been shot, twice?
Yes.
So she's doing good.
His first time was someone shot. They were trying to shoot the deer.
Yes. He was 12. So, or no, he wasn't even 12 then. I think he was 10 then. So it's kind of like, at this point, are you really a Grimes if you haven't been shot? Like, seriously. Dad,
my favorite part was, that's why I have yes, you did that. Was Pamela looking all shocked. Bitch, you shooting? Yes, you shot a child. And don't blame no one else.
We'll talk about it. Okay. We'll come back to that. We'll talk about that because I got plenty to say about that. So let's go back to Alexandria because, like I said, they have killed the Commonwealth soldiers that were against them the night before. They're starting to get things together so they can go back to the Commonwealth and still rescue children because Rosita still doesn't have Coco. Now we see that Jerry's kids have, well, at least we see two of them. I don't see the baby. Nope. So I'm going to assume the baby is probably somewhere with Coco.
Because you know they had to separate the kids. So you know they're going to have the babies in a separate group, and then if there's toddlers, and then the 9, 10, 11,
the
12
older ones. Yeah, that's what Casey and I talked about in the last episode. Because when you find Herschel by himself, it's kind of like, okay, so what they do with the rest of the kids? And then, like I said, you see RJ and Judith have been rescued, and then you see Jerry's older two. You see Gracie in the background, but you don't see the baby. So obviously the babies are somewhere else. And then that's where Tyler Davis is telling Gabriel. He said, well, when I worked with the Commonwealth, the kids who didn't have parents, they were sent to the, what did he say, the child care, city's children's home. I guess
the orphanage.
Like an orphanage. Don't do that. Don't do that. Because if you're going Hamilton, I'm going to start crying, because I cry every time I listen to Hamilton and it comes to that part. So don't do that to me. So anyway, so Gabriel's like, do you know where this is? And Tyler's like, no. So he tells him to find out. Rosita's like, okay. She stops and listens to it a little bit. And then she's like, y'all, come on, let's go. Let's go. I was like, y'all, Rosita ready to go kick some ass and get her child. So I suggest y'all get on this bus. So you see people getting on the bus. It's Rosita, it's some of our people, some of the other people, and Maggie is at the back of the bus, and she's loading supplies onto the bus. And here comes Negan creeping around the corner. He was like, so what do you plan on doing? And Maggie said, about what? He was like, about the bitch. And Maggie was like, Pamela? I was like, is there any other bitch he could be talking about? Like, who? Anyway, so I think at this point you start to see Negan is really, I think, trying to, I won't say endear himself to Maggie, because we already know that's not going to happen. But I think he's trying to appeal to the part of her that is the mother. He's like, look, I get why everybody else is going back, but and I know we won't be safe until she's dead. And I know he's probably talking to that part of her that killed the Reapers, because she knew the same thing. Like, okay, yeah, I can let Leah and these 3 guys go, but they're going to come back after us because we just took everything they had. So I got to kill them now. He's appealing to that part of her. And let's be honest, what he says makes sense. And it makes even more sense with Pamela, because Pamela has the resources to continue coming after them. She knows where they all live now. So I understand them. But of course, Maggie's still in there. There's no we. I'm not going to discuss this with you. We're just going to, save these children. But it did make me sad, because she had to say bye to Herschel again. Because again, Herschel is definitely a kid. I don't think he's ready to do things that Judith does.
No, I don't think so either. I don't think Maggie has trained him,
because she wanted him to train
Judith.
Yeah,
right. Because Judith is she's training the children. So,
right. Including Herschel. I think it was. Yeah, but
so no.
The funny thing, we talked about this a couple of episodes ago, because as Maggie's saying goodbye to Herschel, you see Annie come up behind Negan, and she's like, okay, stay out of trouble, come back in one piece, this, that, and the other. And you see them interacting with each other. And I said it I think it was the last episode, 2 episodes ago. I was like, how weird is it that they are together, they are married, and we've never seen any like intimacy between them, like not a kiss, nothing. And then I really had to think about it. I was like, you know what? It's COVID. It's COVID. That's probably why. Because when I I thought about it, I was like, we really haven't seen anybody, even the established couples, we haven't seen anybody kiss. If you really think about it.
Yeah, we did one couple.
Who?
I'm trying to see if they did kiss after the Renaissance Fair. Did they kiss?
No, but I'm talking about during after COVID. Remember
this is now. I'm talking about now. That was a couple
you're talking about Lydia and Lydia and Elijah. But that's the only one, I think.
It is the only one, but I thought the same thing, to be honest with you. And I'm
Yeah.
like, why are we not seeing this intimacy?
Yeah.
And I was thinking it too. Because then I'm like, I need to feel them as a couple. And I'm not feeling them as a couple if I ain't get no kissing.
Right.
I'm just saying.
But
but now you made a point, and I didn't think about that. And you're absolutely right. Because nobody else is kissing.
Because you have to think about it. Even with the couples that we do see kissing, like, okay, we've seen Mercer and Princess. We've seen, like you said, Lydia and Elijah. But if you think about it, off camera, as far as I know, none of those characters or none of those actors have children. And Jeffrey Dean Morgan does. And I know that he has his family with him a lot. So I know he's probably taking precautions against COVID because, again, this is one thing that that I've noticed. The majority of our people have been separated throughout this last season. And we know part of that is part of the storyline, but I also feel like part of that storyline is because they are still using COVID protocols as far as not having too many people in space. I mean, even after the Founders Day celebration, if you listen to the after show where Angela Kang talks about the different things in the episode, she was talking about the reason why they went with the wrestling match instead of football was because of COVID protocols. The wrestling match would have less people being in that. So I really had to sit there and think about it. And then kind of going back through these last episodes, I was like, okay, you know what? A lot of this makes sense then.
Right, and them hugging. Because I hate to say this, on soap operas, they did the same thing. They'll change it where they're kissing the mannequin, but you can't tell they're kissing the mannequin, so they will not actually be kissing.
Really?
Right, yeah, because that was COVID protocol. Like, they'll get close and then they'll switch their head, like it looks like they're kissing or something, or they'll kiss something else to make it seem that way because of not kissing each other for COVID protocols.
I can imagine that was difficult for a soap opera because, I mean, I don't watch soap operas anymore, but I remember when I did, there was a lot.
Yeah, I don't even really think it's 1-2 left. So I don't even think they're left anymore after COVID. I mean, it was during COVID when that happened. So I can see that because everyone is hugging. That's it.
Right.
Even Eugene.
Yeah, I think maybe when their relationship first kicked off, we saw like a kiss or two there, but nothing. I don't think we've seen anything like that in the third half or the third part of the season. So it's just one of those things because remember, I said this about Negan. I was like, okay, I know they're married. Like they're married. He said they were married, not just that they were together, they are married. But you never really see them being intimate. And then I thought about it like just last week. I was sitting here like, I still don't, oh, wait. And it was in relation to something else I was watching. And they were talking about filming and COVID protocols. And I was like, oh, duh. That makes so much sense. Because if you think about it, The Walking Dead was one of the first TV shows that resumed filming with like extensive COVID protocols. Because I had a friend who was working on the crew back then, and she was like, oh yeah, she was like, we are getting tested like twice a day sometimes, depending on who you were and how many scenes you had or how much interaction you had with different people. They were really being precaution about that. So I was like, okay, makes sense.
Okay, thank you, because I did think about that. And I can tell you the episode I thought about it, not when he said, okay, this is my wife. It was the one where, not last episode. It could have been last episode when I thought about it. I think it was 22. When he went to see her in the room and she was laying on the bed. That's when I thought about it. And I'm like, oh, you're not even kissing her face or anything.
Right,
what's going on here?
That's what I was thinking. And I was like, it's so weird. But now that it kind of makes sense. We are still technically in a pandemic. So I'm like, okay. And, like I said, he has a wife and kids at home. So, yeah, I could see wanting to be cautious, not wanting to get COVID and spread it to people or whatever the case may be. So, Yeah. So I kind of, it makes me look at things a little bit differently now. Because without the intimacy, I still can see, okay, yeah, I can see how they could be a couple, but to me, they act more like an old couple, like a couple who's been together for a long time and are like really
Yeah.
comfortable with each other, which I don't have a problem with either. But I'm like, y'all newlyweds, I be, especially as much danger as we've been in, I be pissed all over, like, oh my God, you're here, you're safe. But yeah, this kind of makes sense. So yeah, I just thought I'd mention that because I remember a few episodes ago, I was just like, I don't understand. Okay. So I'm gonna be a little more understanding about things. But so they get on the bus to get ready to go back to the Commonwealth, and then you see them on the train. So they've got the train. And I remember Princess was asking Magnus, she was like, so does anybody know how to steer or drive? I mean, conduct the train? And Magnus was like, I think one of the guys was an engineer in his, in the previous life, I guess you could say, which will make sense because you had to have somebody drive the train there. So they're on the train, and you get to see the different conversations between different people. You see Rosita kind of telling Father Gabriel, okay, so this is the game plan. This is what we're going to do. And I love the fact that we're seeing so much more of Rosita and seeing her shine, because for so long, she was Abraham's sidekick. And then once she became a mom, we didn't really see her in a lot of the action like we used to. Up until like the storm. When the storm happened, she went outside and went ham on all those walkers. I was like, okay, this is a Rosita we've been missing, But here you get to see her she's strategizing, she's telling Gabriel what they're going to do. And when he asks her a question, because she's telling him that they're going to go through the estates, which is where all the rich folk live, he was like, why not go? Or no, I'm sorry. When she tells him they're going to go through the lower wards, and he says, why not go through the estates? And she was like, too much money. They have all the security. And in the lower wards, we won't stick out as much. Because, of course, looking at the way that they all look, if you walk up in the quote unquote rich people, you're immediately going to stand out. You look like you come to start a fight. Immediately. And when she says this, like without even thinking about it. So, that's either part of the way that she thinks, or even being part of the Commonwealth soldiers. That might have been some of the sentiment that came around. So he steps back and he looks at her, and I started laughing. I was like, because I said at that moment, Gabriel's like, and why did we break up again? Like, I'm really feeling it.
And I'm feeling when he's like, we're going to get our daughter.
Yeah, we're going to get our daughter back. And she was like, is that your faith talking? He was like, yeah, and you. And then she says, I'm really glad you're here. I was like, y'all couldn't come up with a better line for her than that. Like, I understand you trying to keep some distance and you're worried about your child, but come on now. This is a former couple that y'all broke up off screen without telling anybody. Y'all sat there and let us figure it out. But can we have at least a little bit of this is how we came to be together? You know what I'm saying? Like we did a couple episodes ago when they were walking trying to find everybody, and they were having a little banter back and forth. I was like, okay, this banter shows me how they worked as a couple. I can see it. But now it's just kind of like y'all are putting that distance between them again. And I don't want that to happen because I don't know. It's almost the end. Can't everybody just have their happy ending? Let them get back together and raise their child once they rescue her, of course. But I don't know. That one little line didn't sit well with me. But I was like, okay, if that's what we got to get, okay. Let's go to the next one. Princess and Tyler. This dialogue was so funny because he's sitting there like, it's what did he say? It's strange being here with you again or something like that. And he was like, I'm sorry. And she was like, what? He said, for what happened last time, we were on a train. First of all, why are you apologizing? She whipped your ass.
Yes.
And granted,
it got you tired and put out.
Yeah. I mean, granted, you had her hostage, but if anything, I think she should be saying sorry to you because she whipped your ass, like you said, got you fired and demoted and put over.
Oh,
She was like, dude, I appreciate I appreciate it. I don't have time for your stories. I'm trying to get in touch with the guy that can help us. I said, oh, she tried to call her boyfriend. She was like, I ain't got
and
time.
even just the way she looked at him, like, what? Okay, sure.
Like, dude, you talking about something that happened, what, over a year ago? Like, we ain't even thinking, look, we all on the same side. We're all on this train car. We all try to go rescue folks. So yeah, let's just squash that. And then he has a little conversation with Connie and Magna and Kelly, because Connie she's kind of, you can tell she's kind of pleased about the fact that they found him, because remember, that's why she started all this stuff in the papers with the Commonwealth in the first place, because he disappeared. And she was like, so what happened to him? And then they find out about all the other names. Okay, so what happened to all these other people? Which that still makes me wonder, who put the names under her door in the first place? I don't think we ever found that out yet. Because obviously, it's obvious by now it wasn't Mercer. Because I don't think Mercer knew to that extent how many people were disappearing. I don't think so either. So I wonder who it was that stuck it up under her door. Anyway, she's looking pleased as punch because they've rescued him, and she has a conversation with him through Kelly about how she's glad they found him. And Kelly was like, we've been looking for you since the night of the party. And he expresses regret for what he did. He was like, I was upset. I wanted Pamela to hear me, but I should never hurt anybody. And I think he realizes at this point he has people who really understand him, because Magna says, look, society threw you out. You were trying to be her. I've been there, so we understand. And like Connie told him, she was like, what you did back then doesn't matter. It's what you do now. You're trying to help. And you can see he's like, okay, yeah, I can do this. Because remember, when Ezekiel and Negan came to him for help, he was like, I'm not finna help you.
He was. He wasn't trying to help at all.
At all. And then even when the warden put Negan on his knees, if you see his face when the camera flashed to him, he kind of had a smile on his face, like, see, I told y'all what would happen. It was one of those things where I was like, I'm glad I didn't stick my nose in this, because I told y'all this would happen. But then when Ezekiel walked up front in front of the guns, Tyler was the first person that wasn't from our group to step up, because I think at this point he was like, oh, okay, they are serious about wanting to make things better. Okay, let me go join on in this fight too. So we've got allies there. And then we have the conversation with Negan and Ezekiel. Now, this conversation, I think, was a long time coming. And this one also made me emotional as well, because of Ezekiel. They're sitting there looking at each other, and Negan thanks him for saving him and Annie the night before. And he was like, well, why did you do that? And Ezekiel was like, look, he was like, you dying as a martyr, that's not going to fix anything. You honestly working to make up for the things that you've done, or, to make a difference, to be a better person. He was like, I can get with that. And then I don't want to live my life bitter, and he talks about all the things. He was like, look, the dead came for me, and yet I smile. When he did that, I had to pause the TV, because that is a sentiment that is dear to my heart, like so dear that I had it tattooed. So when he started saying it, I was like, okay, Hanako, I got to prepare myself. Okay. So I played the TV again. So he said, the dead came for me, and I smiled. War came for me. And he kind of nodded his head at Negan, because that's what he was talking about. He was like, and yet I smiled. Cancer came for me. And yet I smiled. And when he said that, Negan smiled, because I think at this point, when Negan was the bad Negan, when he was the older Negan, I don't think he ever really took time to get to know the people that he was like terrorizing, because he didn't care at that point. He didn't care about these
No.
other people. He had people who were dependent on him, and in his mindset, he was like, okay, I'm going to do whatever I have to do in order to protect these people and also keep my position. Because again, at that point, power corrupts. And he was corrupted in the most egregious way. He was a disgusting person back then. So I don't think he ever paid attention to who these people were. And now when you sit there and you talk to Ezekiel and you see just how honest he is about that, you can't help but be like, okay, yeah, I understand. And Negan says that to him. He's like, look, or rather, Ezekiel says to him, he's like, so why did you give them your name instead of mine? And Negan was like, look, I was doing that for my wife and for my child so that I would not leave a story behind like the one that you're telling. So that someone could say at the end of the day, I did something that was right. I did something that was good. And it wasn't for me. It wasn't to save my ass, but it was to save you all. And then he said, and I said this as he was saying it, if he said, you all are better than I am. And if you don't think I don't know that, you haven't been paying attention. I was like, did we not say those exact words a couple of episodes ago?
Yes.
If you can't see that he has been changing, you haven't been paying attention.
You haven't been paying attention. You haven't been paying attention at all.
Because like I said, if he really wanted to go back to the old Negan, he could have easily done that after he killed Alpha. Casey and I talked about this in the last episode, the one that you weren't in. When he killed Alpha and he and Daryl were off by themselves, they got cornered by a few whisperers. And the whisperers were like, oh, you're the one that killed Alpha. Oh, you're the new Alpha now. Remember? This was right after Daryl got in his ass, told him, oh, you know, you're still a piece of shit. We still ain't friends. You still ain't one of us. At that point, Negan could have been like, oh, I'm the new Alpha now. Oh, okay. So let me get on my new Alpha shit. He could have.
He didn't. He didn't.
And even with this, after Ezekiel went off on him, he could have gone to the warden and said, oh, okay, yeah, let me give you the names of everybody who I've been sitting here
communicating with.
He could have done that. But he didn't. He's had several opportunities in the last few years where he could have broken off. He could have gone off on his own. He could have, if he was the new Alpha, he could have had the whole Whisperers gang, maybe not Beta, but he could have had all the Whispers behind him and he could have wiped them out if that's what he wanted to do. But I've said for a long time, I don't think that's the person he truly was at his core at the beginning of his story. Not the beginning where we met him, but the beginning that started with here's Negan. And I think he's probably fighting to get back to that version of himself or even a better version of himself. Because even before the zombie apocalypse, okay, again, he may not have been, he was a shit husband, but that doesn't mean he was a shit person. You know what I'm saying? Not to the point where we were introduced to him. That kind of behavior and that kind of narcissism and him, you know, trading favors for, you know, the wives. Oh, okay, yeah, you be my wife if I do this, if I do that. That kind of behavior, that's something that he picked up along the way, because when you look at here's Negan, I don't see that in him.
No, I don't either, but I think he realized that that's how you survive. And because those were the people who on top, things done. Right. And to stay on top, you promise to protect and you have to have fear.
Which he realizes that now. Like, okay, yeah, you know what? That's not the best way to do things. And he's made mention of that.
And he kind of saw it in that episode when he was seeing it. Was it the bikers he was seeing some things with and realizing you just have to be a certain way to survive in this world.
Because those bikers were the reason why he lost Lucille in the first place.
So
yeah,
and now he's unlearning his ways. He learned new ways of survival, and now he's trying to unlearn those ways. But he is redeeming himself. I mean, I don't know what more you want him to do.
Because
he spent time in prison.
right.
I'm just saying he has.
Mm-hmm.
He has saved people's lives
Mm-hmm.
that he could have been killed.
Mm-hmm.
He has done things for you.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's trying to have a family and y'all still can't forgive him.
And here's the thing. I'm not even saying he should be forgiven by certain people. Certainly,
I got that.
Certainly Maggie. No, I don't expect Maggie to forgive him.
No.
I don't even expect Ezekiel to forgive him, because even not even thinking about the Benjamin stuff, because like I said, he probably didn't even know about what's his name shooting Benjamin. Because if you think about it, some of Negan's people went off script
and did their own
against his
thing.
orders. We saw that with Simon and the scavengers. So I think...
No, I can see Ezekiel forgiving him. The only person who cannot, because of the situation and actually watching in a horrible way, is Maggie.
Mm-hmm.
But everyone else, we can do this tally mark thing, because again, his people was killed. You have a young lady who was out, the parent, because I just went to an outpost and started killing people. I'm not saying Ezekiel people did that. I'm giving y'all on their side of things. They were living their life, doing what they're supposed to do under Negan, and then they're starting to die out.
Yeah.
So, but Maggie, that's understandable.
Right.
Herschel, understandable.
But the fact, I think the real thing about it is, most people who have done evil, they won't ever admit it, or they won't ever feel regret about it. And I think in these last few episodes, you were seeing Negan starting to rethink his situation. And then if you think about it, think about what happened to him last night.
Right, that's what I'm thinking. What happened to him last episode? He should be thinking about,
oh, this is what I did.
Exactly.
So I really think, if you think about it, he probably had a lot of time to think overnight, like, oh shit. Okay, so I was just on my knees in front of a firing squad. They were about to kill my wife and my unborn child in front of a firing squad. And all these people who I've done wrong to, and not even all of them, because if you think about it, Magna, Princess, Kelly, they have no experience with Negan, except that Negan was a prisoner, and then he was a reluctant part of the community. So they really have no reason to even dislike him. But anyway, all of these other people that he has done wrong to, Ezekiel as part of the kingdom, Nabila as part of the kingdom, these people came and stood in front of him and prevented him from being killed. And you got to think that at some point, him just being a human being, regardless of whether or not he's a good person or a bad person, you got to sit here and think about the parallels and think about the deja vu, like, oh, I remember a similar situation where I didn't give this kind of grace to the people who were in front of me, And granted, you were mad back then. Yeah, a lot of your people got killed. Yes, I understand that. Okay. You did what you did. Pissed off. Yes, still pissed off about that. We lost 2 good people because of that. But okay, you got to think that he really thought about that. And for him to go to Ezekiel and literally say, you all are better than me. And if you think I don't know that, you're not paying attention. He didn't even have to say the last part. Just the fact that you even uttered, you all are better than me. That shows more understanding and more. He understands what he did.
Yeah, he does.
And he doesn't want to be that person anymore. I truly believe that. And then he gets up and he walks off, and you realize that Maggie is still sitting over there in the corner, and she has heard this whole conversation. Now, again, I don't expect Maggie to forgive him.
No, I don't either.
But I think Maggie is reasonable enough to look and say, okay, you know what? he is a different person than the person I met several years ago.
Right.
I
And
mean,
she can let go of having to kill him.
I think so, yes. Now, I know some people...
I think she has let go.
Yeah.
I think she has let that go. Not forgive him, not have to be sitting there being friends and having some conversations. We're not going to do that.
Right.
But you don't have to worry about you closing your eyes. I'm going to slit your throat when you sleep.
Right. I think there's a mutual understanding between them. And again, it's kind of like when you think about it, okay, Maggie, you were gone for years. The Whisperers came in and just wreaked havoc. And truth be told, Negan was one of the key people who were responsible for getting rid of that group.
Oh, yes.
He protected your people in a way that you weren't there to do. You can't ignore that. Because again, he could have become the alpha. And he could have wiped all of them out. Yes, granted, he had to torch Hilltop to do that. But how else was he going to get Alpha to believe, oh yeah, I have no love for these people?
I agree.
You have to infiltrate. I mean, think about it when a cop goes undercover. Sometimes you got to do some despicable things in order to get the result
they do some illegal things. They have to gain the trust of the person they're trying to take down. And you can't be like, no, don't burn Hilltop. Dude, are you not on our side?
Right. He didn't kill anybody.
No.
So
you just standing there.
But going back to the Commonwealth now, Mercer has brought Eugene to his sister and to Yumiko. There's a reunion. And this is the other thing that made me realize, okay, yeah, it must be something with the COVID protocols. Because when when Max and Eugene are reunited, there's no kiss there either.
Yeah, I saw that too.
So I was like, okay, yeah, it's got to be something with the COVID protocols because you're not really seeing that much. But anyway, so they're talking about what they need to do. And, when they realize that Mercer's on our side. And Yumiko is like, why didn't you tell us? He was like, because it was safer for you. I was like, Yumiko, you're smart. Think about this. Why would he tell y'all something like that? Because then I think they would have acted different. Even though it would have been like, oh, okay. Yeah, it would have been, I don't think it would have pulled off as well as this did. Because even at this point, I think Pamela has her suspicions about Mercer, but she's not sure. Because, of course, now the word has gotten out, oh, Eugene Porter has escaped. And she's like, so he just vanished out of thin air. And Mercer was like, yeah, I'm assuming he had some help. She was like, you think? But it's funny because he wants them to kind of stay out of the way. And Max and Yumiko are like, no, we can help because you hear the crowd. The crowd is against Pamela. We can keep that going to help us. Eugene talking about what can I do to help? Sit your ass down. Sit your ass down.
Really hide. Just don't say anything. Don't make a sound. We don't need you right now.
Sit down. That's what you need to do. And that's what Mercer was like. You just need to stay. You need to stay put. You don't need to do anything. And he was doing good for a while. Then Pamela has sent soldiers to look for him. And somebody knocks on the door where he is. And he looks out the peephole. And then he gets ready to unlock his door. And I was like, Eugene, why? I was like, oh, you know what? That makes sense, though, because if they try to come in and that lock is on, they're going to automatically get suspicious. So he takes the chain off the door and he hides behind the door just as the soldier comes through. And I was like, oh, okay, he can just stay behind the door. He'll be fine. Man, let me tell you, when he comes from behind that door, I was like, Eugene, what the fuck? And then he tackles the soldier and beats him until he knocks him out. I was like, oh, okay. I guess at this point, Eugene was like, I'm really tired of y'all fucking with my... Because I don't think I've ever seen Eugene like that brutal with a person before. Like the dead,
No.
yes, he's gotten very skilled at killing walkers, but I don't think he's ever been like that with an actual person before. So to see him go like that, I was like, okay.
No.
I was like, yeah. Eugene is like, I'm tired of y'all. I'm tired of y'all. I want my life back. Leave me alone. I was like, okay, Eugene, I got you. So
I mean, he picked the soldier up and threw him down.
picked him up. I was like, okay, are we watching another wrestling match? Like, what is going on? I'm proud of you, Eugene.
Right.
But the other thing, the funny thing, going back to Mercer and Pamela, because she's questioning him. Now, first of all, that other guard that's with Mercer, I've been saying, I was like, I don't trust this bitch. I do not trust her.
No.
I don't like her. But when Pamela is questioning Mercer about it, and he was like, yeah, I think he had some help. And he was like, people have been disappearing for quite some time. But maybe now we can get a handle on it, figure some things out. I was like, why would you play that card with her? Like, even though you're saying it like, oh, well, people have been disappearing. We don't know what's going on. But at the same time, he's saying, I know you had something to do with this shit. Like, why would you tell her that? Because now she's really going to suspect you.
Right. You
Why
should
would you do
don't
that?
even say anything. Everything's going good. Everything's going great, ma'am.
All you had to do was say, yes, we'll find him. You didn't have to say nothing about the disappearing people. Because now you got a paranoid. Because as soon as they leave her office, she gets on that walkie-talkie. What did she say? Be 17 this time? And I was like, and then next thing you know, you see Commonwealth Jeeps and a horde. And we saw them in the last episode when Casey and I talked about the last episode. That was the one thing we forgot to talk about. The fact that Aaron and his group all, they blended in with the walkers. And at first I was like, I don't know if I like this, because you saw the Commonwealth soldiers kind of surrounding them. And I was like, if they start shooting into the crowd, they're going to give themselves away. But no, Pamela's troops are corralling the herd and leading them straight to the Commonwealth. And I'm like, Pamela, this is not eight construction workers in a contained area. This is a herd. What are you hoping to accomplish?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm sorry. You may have the resources to deal with the herd that large, as far as the number of soldiers, but your soldiers are not skilled enough to handle a herd like this. They probably have never had to handle a herd like this. Think about what happened a few episodes ago when they came across a herd. Remember, those soldiers were getting torn right and left. One in Mercer's arms. So I'm like, okay, you know what? I really think, like, what happens if they can't contain them? You have 50,000 people in your community. You are asking for a herd of massive, massive proportions. Because your Commonwealth soldiers can't handle that shit.
Nope, not at all.
They can't. Some of those Commonwealth soldiers can't even handle a walker one-on-one. So how you about to have them handle a whole fucking herd?
And it took so much when, remember, the day when, how many walkers were they?
8? 6 or 8. And
Daryl and Judith had to take them out?
Right. I think Mercer took one out.
Yep. We exclude Mercer. What are the other soldiers doing? See, they don't know what they're doing.
So, yeah. This is not a good plan. Leading them to the Commonwealth. And then when you see the camera shot of the Commonwealth, I was like, God damn, that's a big, big community.
It is.
Like, I think that's only the second time that we've seen a wide shot of it like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah, this is not going to be good. It's not like, what are you going to accomplish, Pamela? We'll come back to her because we got some shit to say about her. We've already said that earlier today. We got some stuff to say about her, but we're gonna come back to that. Getting back to the train. This scene with Judith and Daryl and Carol. When I say at this point, we have to see Rick and Michelle in some way, form, or fashion before the end of this series. They have mentioned them too much in this episode already. It's only
they have.
It's only 19 minutes into the episode. And she's mentioned Rick and Michonne several times. She's bringing up Carl, which we know Carl is not coming back, but still just the fact that she's talking about her family so much. I was like, you can't not give us Rick and Michonne at some point. She's talking about how she hasn't heard from her mom in a while. And, you know, Carol is reassuring her. She was like, look, your mom can handle herself better than anyone I know. And they talk about how proud Michonne and Rick would be of her. And she was like, and Carl too? I was like, okay, you're about to make me cry, baby. And she was like, you know, I wish I had more time with him. I wish we had more time to remember them. You know, like we haven't really had time to grieve and do all this stuff for all of these people because it's always the next thing. And I love it when Daryl's like, when all this is over, I'm gonna tell you every story I remember about all the people that loved you. I was like,
oh, that was so sweet.
It was so sweet, but it was also so depressing because if you think about all the people that have been lost that were in Judith's life at some point, starting from Lori, Beth, Herschel, all of these people, I was like, wow, that's incredibly disappointing and depressing. But then when she was talking about Carl, she was like, he died saving people. I was like, look, now, if y'all keep foreshadowing that Judith is going to die, I'm about to come through
this saving screen. Somebody.
Right. I'm about to come through this screen and hurt somebody. I was like, don't do that. Don't give me those parallels. No. Not after I just defended the fact that y'all look, not after I just said, yeah, Judah can go and fight. No, don't y'all sit here and make me regret my words. Don't do that. Oh my goodness. Mercer and Princess get in touch with each other, finally, you know. And
to hear your voice.
Girl. She was like, we're coming back to you. You know, do you think she was like, we're coming back, we're gonna make things better. Do you think you'd be down for that? He was like, yeah. I was like, oh, wait a minute, let me rewind that and listen to that again. I like the sound of that. But of course, he gets pulled away because he's told of the impending horde. So while he's trying to prep the truck so that they can go fight off this herd, or so they can kind of, you know, catch it before it gets to the wall, he talks to Max and he's telling them, okay, look, I told them to meet me in Union Station. If I don't make it back, can you go meet them and make sure they get in here safe? So they've got this plan going where Max is going to go meet them at Union Station. Mercer's going to go to the wall. I think we're going to go to the wall first. We need to talk about the wall. So they go to the wall. They go to this. They have this gate, this big concrete gate, looks like a prison gate. Okay. It has a lookout, has, you know, wires on it. Mercer is there with his guards and he's looking out at the herd as it's coming. And one of his trucks, one of his Jeeps with some of his soldiers, they go and they're trying to lead the walkers away. Now, first of all, when this Jeep gets to the herd and they start moving and they turn, I'm looking at this Jeep like, why the fuck are y'all driving so slow? Why are y'all driving so slow? Speed up, speed up. And then a walker gets on the back of the Jeep. And nobody realizes that the walker is on the back of the Jeep. What did we just say about Commonwealth soldiers?
Yeah, they're not equipped for that. They're not equipped for that because you don't have to drive that slow.
No.
But they're not even paying attention to what's behind them.
And the other thing I looked at the Jeep. Yeah, I looked at the Jeep. I was like, where's your rearview mirror? Why do y'all not have a rearview mirror on this Jeep?
Right. You didn't even see the walker climb into your Jeep.
Like you weren't looking at your well, then again, they had the helmets on, so they probably didn't have good peripheral vision. But I'm like, you couldn't tell there was something behind you that shouldn't have been behind you.
You're right.
So of course that Jeep crashes. Oh no, wait a minute. We got to go back first. We got to go back. We'll come back.
I know you skipped a section.
We'll come back to because I was looking at Mercer on my TV and that's where my mind went. But no, we got to go back because we got to go. We got to talk about what happened with the herd. Okay, this is one of those emotional moments. Oh, speaking of which, I did a reaction video to this episode. It is on our YouTube channel. I had some very strong reactions to this episode.
I think we all did. But yes, please watch it. It's great. But we all did.
Oh my God.
Like typically I'm not screaming out, but I was even screaming out.
I screamed so much in this episode because, okay, again, Jerry, Elijah, Lydia, Aaron, Jules, and Luke, who rejoined the group last episode. They're all walking with the dead. And it was so weird that the way that they did this part of the episode, because you would hear one of them whisper what they are going to do. Like, okay, head for the trees. Mm-hmm. And if you watch it, I watch it with closed captioning. Okay. Because sometimes I just, my hearing is not as good as it used to be. But you see in the closed captioning, it'll say the person's name and you'll hear them whispering it. But what it says on the closed caption is that that's what they're thinking. So it's kind of like you're hearing their thoughts. Like you hear one person like Lydia say, go towards the trees. And so everybody else in their mind is saying, go towards the trees. But we're hearing their thoughts. It was the eeriest thing because, of course, that's what the whisperers used to do. They weren't quite mimicking the whisperers here because, of course, they didn't have the masks on. But still, it was very eerie.
No, but they were using that strategy that they have done.
It was weird.
Leah has shown them that strategy. So, yeah, they were.
It was
to the left. We're walking to the left.
Right. Everything you own in the box to the left.
Yeah. Then I started thinking something else. I'm like, now slide. But, yes, so I have some opinions, and we'll talk about this when we talk about when we get to the final episode. I'm starting to have opinions about how we cover ourselves with walkers. And everyone forgive me, I'm also watching Fear of the Walking Dead. So sometimes we need to cover ourselves up, and then sometimes we just put it on a jacket and it works. I'm just kind of confused.
I mean,
I'm not being confused. I'm being sarcastic.
I know.
It depends on how much they want to emphasize something in them using walker blood.
Right.
Because here we're not covering up our lovely faces. We're deep with the jacket on. And we don't even have any in the hair.
I did have a problem. Yeah, I did have a problem with that in this because my thing was, especially at night, because when they joined in with the herd, it was nighttime. You don't have anything on your faces. You don't have anything that makes it look like you're a walker. And the Commonwealth soldiers are using spotlights through the crowd. So if they were to look in the crowd of dead faces and see this very clean white face, wouldn't that signal to you that is not a walker, that is not a dead person?
Yes. And that's what I thought too when they were flashing the lights. I'm like, you gonna put some blood on your face?
Right.
Like for the friends who haven't watched Fear of the Walking Dead, I'm sorry, spoiler. There have been a couple scenes with Nick. He is full on blood from head to toe. Like he literally dived into a body and came out.
Is a whole different breed of person. Because because Nick was one of those people, I think if Nick had existed on the current show and didn't have his mother or his sister around, he would have very easily have been a whisperer. Not because he felt comfortable walking with the dead. If you think about it, when you see him, especially he had no problems with it. Like he felt
Very
like
natural.
he belonged. Very natural. So I think he
Very
definitely
natural.
would have been a whisperer. Maybe not on the evil side of it, like Alpha and Beta were, as far as like, oh, okay, you people don't want to acclimate. Okay, we're gonna kill you. Nick would have been like, okay, they want to go live a normal life. Okay, I'm gonna go this way and walk with the dead. Nick wouldn't have been that. I don't think he would have been like Alpha or like Beta, but he would have been very comfortable to be like, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna walk with them and go wherever they go. And I think he would have been okay with that.
Right. And he would have covered themselves up. But in this episode, I was a little where you are like, it's your hair is clean. It's literally the green jacket is covered. I'm like, okay, I'll go with it. But
But
somebody should be sweating by this time. Y'all been walking all night. I mean, they would have smelled the regular human off of me. I'm just saying.
And that's the thing, because I think if you look later on, I think you can see some. It might have been a little bit on the cold side, but the other thing is, what walkers do you know what walkers do you know that wear their hoods up? So that would have been suspect to me, to look into a crowd of all these. And I know again, these are the Commonwealth soldiers we were talking about. So they probably weren't paying that much attention. They are not very great with detail. But if it was me,
Aaron,
yeah.
Well, Aaron at least had some little bit of blood and some rosy cheeks.
Rosy cheeks. But it's like, if you're paying attention, you already know that you're looking for people who may have gotten away from. I mean, think about it. Aaron leaving the Commonwealth was not a secret, because supposedly they had been given permission to return back to Alexandria. So you already know that there are some people there. You know that there has been some upheaval because Eugene has now escaped. So if I'm Pamela, I'm thinking that there could be a threat anywhere. Now, granted, she probably doesn't know about the whisperers. She probably doesn't know about them walking in with the crowd. I mean, I'm sure she probably did in-tank on Lydia, but Lydia probably didn't tell them that stuff either. Lydia was probably like, my life began when I stayed with them, when I moved in with Alexandria's. So she would probably think about, okay, well, let's look and see what's different. Her soldiers are not going to do that. They're just like, oh, okay, this is just a group of walking zombies. We're just going to lead them. But like you said, the hair, the faces being clean, them walking with their hoodies up, like, what zombie is going to sit there and be like, oh, I need to cover my head?
Right. Or no, my favorite is, and we'll let this go, everyone, but my favorite is most of the walkers are bald, and then you got Elijah with a nice big old afro. With nothing on, no blood.
Oh, and Luke's head of hair. Luke has a very, very glorious head of hair.
Yeah, he does. And his is out too. And I'm thinking, okay, and all these other ones have like little like 2 pieces of hair string coming or bald.
Right.
Wait a minute. And Aaron too has that nice little, like, okay,
curly hair.
Some current walkers. Yeah, they're current walkers. That's what happened. That's why they're not paying attention. They're like, oh, they must be new to the herd.
Right. They must have been fresh kills, but from where?
Yeah.
See, that would be another thing that you would have to ask. Like where they come from? Oh.
Okay. So they're walking.
And we're walking. And they see this trailer over to the side. And so they start making their way to the trailer, which goes all well and good. They open up the door. There's a walker coming out of it. They kill the walker really quick, and they kind of like all start to sneak onto this trailer. Jules gets swept by the walkers, and she's pulled away from Luke. And at this point, I already said this. I was like, okay, Luke and Jules, they bringing them in for the last few episodes. I didn't think Jules was going to make it, especially watching her walk through the zombies, because I don't think she's ever had to do that before, because she's from Oceanside. I don't think they've ever encountered anything like that before. So looking at her face and the way she was acting, I was like, yeah, Jules is going to bite it. So when she gets, kind of swept away, I'm sitting there looking like, yeah, she's going to die. She's going to panic. She panics, but not to the point where it's very noticeable by the walkers. But Luke follows her. He kind of lets himself be taken by the walkers too. Lydia and Elijah try to get into the they try to get into the trailer. Elijah starts to get carried off by the walkers, and he and Lydia are holding hands, and Lydia won't let go, and she starts to panic, and she gets bit. And when I tell
at this point, I didn't know when I was watching who it was, her or Elijah. I didn't know which one.
No, if you go back,
I just started screaming.
Yeah, if you go back and look, you can see the walkers doing like this. You can see Elijah's whole hand.
Right. I know, but at that point I knew it was coming, so I just started screaming and I didn't pay attention, and then I had to rewind real quick because I was like, "Oh my gosh, something's gonna happen."
Girl, when I tell you, when Lydia got bit, I started screaming. You would think it was my own child that got bit. And she still would not let him go, and he would not let her go. And then finally, he lets go. He gets swept away. She's sitting there screaming, and oh my God. So Jerry and Aaron have to snatch her away and disconnect their hands. So of course Elijah gets swept with the zombies. We don't know where he is. And then they've got zombies, now clawing at this trailer that they're in. Girl, when I tell you, this episode stressed me the fuck out. It stressed me out because now she's in the trailer. She's trying to get to him. She was like, we can't lose them. We can't. And they're like, Lydia, we got to take care of your arm. You got bit. And she was like, I don't care. I can't lose him. And then Aaron says, then he's going to lose you. And that makes her stop. Mm-hmm. Because he was like, you know what we have to do.
Mm-hmm.
So you would think, after seeing people lose their extremities in this show more than once, that it would get easier to watch them have to be like, oh, okay, well, you got bit. We need to cut this off. We saw it with Herschel. We've seen it with Aaron, even though Aaron didn't get bit, but he still had to have his arm cut off. Now we got to see it with Lydia. And I'm just like, how many more people have to lose an arm? Because we've also seen that happen on, well, you haven't gotten to these parts yet. It's happened in The World Beyond, and it's happened in Fear the Walking Dead. So they pull the jacket.
Somebody lose their arm in the Fear of the Walking Dead?
Yep. But you still got a few seasons to go for that.
Okay.
But they're sitting there, they're prepping. Jerry has his sword, and Aaron is trying to calm her down. And he was like, I lost my arm too. I went through this, and you see I came out okay. You'll be okay. And she's like, yeah. Now what he says to her next made me cry. And I'm going to tell you why.
Yes, I love it. Okay, go ahead.
He says to her, you are so loved, Lydia. And I started crying because I was like, I remember when she first came to the group, even after everything that happened, Aaron was one of the people who did not like her, who did not want her around.
At all.
And the developing friendship or relationship that we've seen out of these two characters in the last few episodes, with him giving her advice about, about learning to love again and taking chances. And then just this, him saying that to her touched me because I don't think she's ever had that said to her. I mean, if you think about it, she had Alpha as a mom.
Yep.
And Alpha was so not the the beacon of motherly love for her. Like, yeah, she kind of, I think she told her she loved her, even maybe in Tales of the Walking Dead, but it wasn't, you never really got that motherly feeling from Alpha. It was more of a she's mine, a possession type thing, you know? But for someone to actually love Lydia as a person, I don't think she's ever heard that. And for it to come from Aaron in this moment, I felt like okay, she now has two adoptive dads, because we always joke about Negan being one of her adoptive dads because he really looked out for her and took care of her when nobody else really was, especially when she got bullied. They tried to beat her up, and Negan basically kicked all those teenagers' asses for jumping on her. But now you've got Aaron, who is there with you at what's about to be the hardest time for you. So he says that to her, and Jerry looks at her and he was like, I'm sorry, dude. She was like, she was like, I'm ready. And Jerry was like, I'm sorry. What up?
Well, I also like the second thing he said after he said, you are loved. We're going to get you through this. Too. And like both of them together. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh, I cried.
Like if you got to go through.
Yes.
Yeah. Like if you have to go through something like that, you got two pretty good people standing by you to help you through that. And of course, when she after they do it and they show her arm kind of wrapped up, she's out. And then when she starts stirring, both of them are looking like, is she or is she? I was like, please don't let her wake up as a walker. I would be so pissed. I would be so pissed. But thankfully, she wakes up. She's herself. She's weakened. But she was like, we have to go find them. And Jerry's like, no, I'll go look. She was like, I'm coming with you. He was like, no. We'll find them. They'll be okay. And she starts crying. She was like, no, we can't leave them out there. And she's not just talking about Elijah. She's talking about Luke. She's talking about Jules. These are people she barely knows. Because if you think about it, not too long after all of this, Luke went to go live at Oceanside with Jules. So these are not people that she knows, but they're still people that she considers family. She was like, we can't leave them out there. We have to go save them. And she's like crying into Jerry's arms, and he's hugging her, and Aaron is hugging her. And then Jerry gets this look on his face, and I'm like, no.
Yep.
No, because I already know, like, because I'm sitting here thinking like, okay, so two of the people that Michelle and Casey say are going to die are in this trailer right now. Absolutely not. Jerry gets that look on his face and he was like, I'll go find them. And Aaron's like, are you sure? I was like, Aaron, if you say you're going with him, I'm turning this TV off. Jerry's like, yeah, I'll go find him. We'll meet back with y'all. Piece of cobbler. I was like, oh, he's going to die. He's going to die. He's being too nonchalant about it. I mean, you could tell he was scared, but he was like, I got to do this for Lydia. Yeah, it'll be okay. We'll meet up. We'll find you. We'll meet back up with you.
Yeah, I was nervous about that. I was like, oh, hell. This ain't great.
Do you see the look on my face? I was like, if they kill Jerry, I'm going to be mad. And then, of course, we end the episode without knowing whether or not they are safe or not. So I'm just like, y'all really gonna make me wait till the next episode and be like, okay, he's safe. Anyway, I think we can go back to the wall now. Can we go back to the wall now? I think we can go back to the wall now.
Yes.
Okay. So let's talk about this wall. So Mercer and his men are at the wall. They're trying to, divert the herd from coming in. And like I said earlier, this wall looks like one of those prison walls. Very tall, concrete, steel wire, lookout tower, very sophisticated. Okay. And he's giving orders, and he sent one of his trucks out, one of the Jeeps out. They're trying to divert the crowd. And like we said, They're driving too slow. They get a walker onto the Jeep. They don't realize it. And then they radio into Mercer about what's happening. And when Mercer takes his binoculars to look, he sees a plume of smoke. The Jeep has been overturned, overrun. Here come the walkers. So he gets down on the ground. He tells them to get ready. And here comes Officer Non-Friendly. I can't remember what her name is. And she's arresting Mercer. And she's arresting Mercer because because Pamela Milton has realized that Mercer is on the other team's side. And she realizes this because as our group is getting ready to head to Union Station, they realize Mercer is not there to meet them, and it's being guarded by other soldiers. And one of the soldiers gets a call on his radio saying, hey, General Mercer needs everyone at such and such to help against this herd. And they're like, even the Tunnel H soldiers? And he was like, yeah. Well, we're not supposed to move. He was like, look, this is General Mercer's orders. And that Tunnel H is the entrance into Union Station, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
So once the officer Non-Friendly, as she says, once she calls in to Pamela and says, hey, General Mercer pulled soldiers to help deal with the walkers. And Pamela's like, okay, so where did he pull them from? And she's like, he pulled them from this place, and Tunnel H. And Pamela's like, And the soldier is like, do I need to recall any of those soldiers? And Pamela's like, no, it's cool. So at that point, I think she realized that Mercer was trying to use the tunnel to get, the other people in. We'll go to that in a second because that's the one that we're going to have a lot of opinions on. So we're going to go back to the wall. So they come and arrest Mercer. They take him away, and he's telling them, he was like, look, you need to get more guards on this wall because you need to deal with the herd. And of course, Officer Non-Friendly says, Governor Milton says that the herd can't breach the walls. And Mercer was like, look, I'm telling you there's something weird going on. Pamela's not telling y'all the truth, and she's doing this on purpose. She's behind this. He was like, I'm telling you, get more people to guard the wall.
Mm-hmm. And then they put him under arrest.
They put him under arrest, and you leave the Commonwealth soldiers in charge. At this point, we really don't need to say more, but we're going to have to say more because I will say this is not really all of their fault, what happens next. But what happens is the herd comes to the wall. You've got one guard on the lookout. You've got, I think it's only 2 or 3 more behind the door. Okay. So they have the doors closed. They think they're safe. The soldier is, he's calling in the status. And then all of a sudden, here goes a variant walker climbing up the wall, climbing up the structure. And he's like, oh shit, they're climbing the walls. He shoots that one down, but there's another one climbing up the wall behind him and gets up there in the lookout tower with him and starts, wrestling with him because he's trying to eat him. The soldiers down on the ground are like, oh shit, did they just climb the walls? They've climbed the walls. And they're sitting there trying to figure out what to do. The dude up in the lookout tower, he's struggling with the walker again. One walker. He has a fucking gun.
Walker.
He has a fucking gun, but he does not shoot the gun. He gets bit. And as he moves over to the side, he presses down on the lever, which opens the doors to let the herd in. Commonwealth soldiers.
Hey.
Absolutely no good. Not worth anything.
At all.
So now we have a herd in the walls. We're going to talk about that aftermath after we talk about what happens in the train depot. Okay. So we've got our group. Like I said, Mercer has pulled the soldiers from Tunnel H. So they go into Tunnel H. They go in through the tunnels. They go up some stairs. and they enter into the depot. Now, this place is eerily quiet. So the moment they walked in, I looked, I said, oh, it's a trap. It's a trap. And it wasn't until I watched it the second time that I realized what Pamela realized when the soldier told her, oh, he pulled the soldiers from Tunnel H. Because I was here like, how would she know? Okay, that tells me. So Tyler Davis's group goes in first. And then Daryl, Maggie, and Judith come out. And Daryl and Maggie are walking slow because they have the experience that the Commonwealth people don't. They can tell when something ain't right. So they walk in real slow. Daryl starts looking around and Judith is like, what's wrong? So again, the fact that Judith realized, okay, something's not right, because she's looking at the way her aunt and her uncle are moving, the way that they are reacting. She's like, okay, what's going on? And Daryl was like, something's not right. It's a trap. Tyler Davis says, okay, guys, we're clear. And as soon as he says that, Daryl tells them to duck. And the shooting starts from the banisters, the balcony. All of Tyler Davis and his people, they're all just immediately wiped out. Gone. Our people start scrambling. They start shooting back. You got people here, people there, people on the stairs. We finally see Diane again after how long? How many episodes? Diane is there. She's with Kelly and she's with Connie up under the stairs. One of the people is trying to scoot to Connie on their knees, and Connie reaches out to get them, and I was so scared she was about to bite it. But no, the other person in front of her gets shot instead. And I'm sitting here like, oh, goodness. This is about to be some shit. So everybody's sitting there fighting. They're shooting. They're doing this. Pamela Milton walks her ass up in there just as the soldier next to her gets shot. She looks at it. She gets upset. She reaches down. She grabs the gun from that soldier. And I was looking like, oh, she about to get into this gunfight. Oh, okay, cool. No.
Yeah, I was like, she bowed it. I mean, literally, I was thinking, she's serious. She mad.
But you know what?
She picked up a gun.
Yeah, but you know what? She was probably military. She could have been military before she got into politics. A lot of them are.
Okay, no, that's not. No, she wasn't military. You got to think back. She goes hunting. She's good with a gun.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So she's not afraid of using a gun.
So she gets,
and she's bad enough to pick it up and be in the line of fire.
And to be in this firefight. So she picks up the gun. She starts shooting, or she gets ready to shoot. She aims at Maggie. Judith sees this. She pushes her Aunt Maggie out of the way just as Pamela fires off a shot, and Judith gets shot in the shoulder. When I tell you, I started screaming at the TV. I was like, oh, fuck no. Shoot this bitch. Shoot this bitch. Oh my God. I think I yelled that like repeatedly for about 5 minutes because I was so pissed. I was like, you just shot Judith. You about to die. You about to die. Of course, Daryl is over there trying to make sure Judith is unconscious. Mm-hmm. He's trying to wake her up. Maggie is looking in horror because she realizes that Judith just saved her life. Rosita is looking. Gabriel is looking. All of them are looking like, oh, bitch, you just shot her. Carol is looking. They start shooting up to the top. Now.
Right, but Carol, the first one. When Carol realized, she started shooting. She hit the first soldier. I'm like, girl, you doing good. Keep going.
No, but here's the thing that pissed me off. All these motherfucking sharpshooters we got on our team, and not one of y'all hit Pamela. What the fuck? Y'all hitting everybody else but Pamela. Y'all not hitting the main bitch that needs to be hit. And Pamela is upset about the fact that she hit a child, but then she sits there and she starts screaming, you did this. No, bitch.
Yes, she's backing away. She realized her mistake. She wasn't continuing shooting. She dropped that gun and started like, oh, hell, let me run.
I'm just saying. We've been repeating Rick's words the last couple of episodes. Fucked with the wrong people.
Right.
Now you done shot Judith of all people.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I was pissed because here comes Maggie, here comes Negan, here comes Carol, here comes Ezekiel, here comes Gabriel with the goddamn machine gun. None of y'all motherfuckers can hit Pamela. None of y'all.
However,
none of y'all.
The favorite scene for Daryl. Daryl did some MacGyver shit.
That shit was fun. Okay, first of all, the fact that Ezekiel could throw that fire extinguisher the way that he did, like he was doing some shot putting at the Olympics.
And then Daryl was able to hit it. I was like, fun. I love this. I showed Anthony with about Rick's 3 gun. Times. I was like, watch this.
With Rick's gun.
Yes. I showed him. I was like, you gotta watch this. Well, you gotta watch this part with Pamela. Because I was mad. And then I was like, look at this MacGyver shit right here.
Let me tell you, that reaction video, I'm telling you, 5 minutes, I'm probably shoot that bitch, kill this bitch, shoot her, Carol, shoot. I was so mad when she got out of there alive. I was too mad. Like, what the fuck?
And then I was just screaming, yes, you did this. Don't be surprised. You just shot her.
I was so mad.
Shot you there.
I was so
right. And they're going to blame them.
You did this. No, bitch. You did this.
Did this.
We're going to come back to that.
How did they get out of the train depot?
So on the outside of the train depot, while the shooting is going on, you got Commonwealth soldiers outside who obviously are not paying attention. I guess they're like, okay, you know what? They got this. They got this. So you have Yumiko and Max on the outside, and they're, again, Max is going to meet our people because she knows that Mercer can't be there. And as they're sitting there looking, here comes a hooded person in the trees right behind the train. So Yumiko is like, yeah, let's go around the other way. Because at this point, they don't know who this person is. Okay. Mm-hmm. The person comes around the train and there's a Commonwealth guard there. He turns around and the person comes up the stairs and it's Eugene. I was like, okay, Eugene, you're being a bad bitch today. All right. He comes up, he takes out that Commonwealth soldier just as Yumiko and Max are coming around. On the inside of the train depot, again, Daryl has pulled his MacGyver shit. He's shot at a fire extinguisher to kind of give them some cover. He's grabbed Judith. They're trying to run outside, and someone has gotten the chain off the doors because that's how they realized that it was a trap, because there were chains on the insides of the doors. So as they're headed to the doors, this is where Eugene takes out the Commonwealth soldier. Yumiko and Max, they come around, they see Eugene, and the doors open, and it's Magna. So of course, Yumiko and Magna see each other, and they're like, come on. They getting people out. And of course, like I said, you got Daryl holding Judith. Okay. So let's see. I think we've already talked about, okay, so at this point, this is in the episode where it goes back to the wall and the walkers are starting to breach through and climb through and stuff like that. So Officer Non-Friendly goes to Pamela and she was like, the walkers, we got walkers inside the Commonwealth. And Pamela's looking like, what are you talking about?
No, that could never happen.
She's sitting there trying to wipe the blood off her face. She was like, that's impossible. And the officer was like, ma'am, the dead are climbing the walls. Like, do you not hear the words that are coming out of my mouth? The dead are inside the Commonwealth. So she tries to go to Pamela. She tries to say, okay, look, this might be, ineffective, but we can still try to make a stand. We can do this, and that. And Pamela's like, no, pull all of the guards, put some in front of my house and send the rest of them to the estates. Divert the walkers into the lower wards. What?
With people.
What? And the officer is like, ma'am, there's citizens down there. That'll be the death of thousands of people. We can still, and then Pamela's like, we protect the estates. And you can see Officer Non-Friendly's face change, like, oh, this bitch is about to protect her rich people and sentence everybody else to die.
Exactly what Mercer was trying to say.
Like, y'all really thought Pamela was about everybody. No. When push come to shove, she gonna protect the people that are like her.
Mm-hmm.
Girl, I was like, as if I don't already like you, or as if I didn't already like you before. Now I really don't like you just on principle. Because you just showed how despicable a person you are. Rather than try to save the people that you have now condemned, because you are the reason this herd is here in the first place. You finna go run up to the I guess I'm gonna assume the estates are probably on the far side of the complex. And you're about to leave them to fend for themselves. So as Daryl and all of them, they're running through the streets of the Commonwealth because Ezekiel is like, hey, we can take her to the clinic. He's about to try and take Judith to his clinic so they can try to save her, get the bullet out, whatever it is. They notice that the Commonwealth soldiers keep blocking them off. And then they realize, wait, they're not blocking us off. They're not chasing after us. They're not following us. What are they doing? Then they realize that they're blocking them in. So they think that they're trying to trap them just because. No. Magna is like, hold up, what's that? And you can hear a herd, you can hear walkers, you can hear them shooting, and you can hear them on loudspeaker saying they'll follow sound. So what they're doing is they're shooting some of the herd, but they're also luring them to the same area that they've enclosed our people in. Okay. As they're looking, one of the walkers climbs up on a trash can and Negan has the best, what the fuck?
I love it.
Because they're all...
And even the look on his face.
What the fuck?
The fuck?
But the good thing about this is as the walkers are advancing towards them, two figures run out of the herd and towards our group. It's Luke and Jules. So at this moment, both of them are okay.
Yeah, they've been walking with the herd.
Yep. So they found each other. They walked in. They're with the herd. Now they're trying to get to an alley so that they can take a shortcut to the medical building. Daryl is carrying Judith, and everybody else is shooting the walkers, stabbing the walkers, trying to give them a way into the alley. Now, one of the things that really bothered me about this scene, I don't mean bother in a bad way. Daryl is looking at all of these people who are trying to protect him and Judith so that he can get her help. Everybody's killing walkers. You see Connie starting to stab some walkers, and Daryl looks her direction. And you can tell it hurt him to not be able to help her because he's got to focus on Judith.
Mm-hmm.
He finally gets through the alleyway, and you see all the walkers kind of crowd and everybody else is fighting them, but you kind of see them disappearing. Judith regains consciousness for a moment. She looks up at Daryl and she thinks she's seeing her daddy. She says, "Daddy?" I was like, y'all cannot tell me Rick is not going to come back. Y'all can't tell me.
But then I just also thought that was just, I know, but I thought it was also sweet because Daryl has been there. And you think a lot of times, like even, you know, he would trade off. Daryl would have her while Rick would go off and do things or take care of Carl. Like Judith was attached to his hip.
I mean, think about it.
It was like his baby.
Little ass kicker in the prison. Remember, that was the first time we ever saw Daryl being like, I would say kind of sort of like a kid, because he picked up Judith, he grabbed that bottle, he was feeding her, Tom said, "Oh, you hungry, little ass kicker?" And I was like, who is that?
Yeah.
Is that Daryl? So like literally from the beginning, he has been
That's
there.
like his child too.
Yeah. So when she said that, yes, I was
sweet.
like, that was sweet. But at the same time, I was like, y'all done mentioned Daddy and Rick and stuff too many times in this. Y'all cannot tell me that we're not going to see him in some way before this series ends. It's just y'all mention them too much. I still don't know how that would happen because now we only have one episode left. And there's a whole lot that they got stuff they need to resolve. So I don't know how they would bring Rick in at this point. But I don't know. I feel like it's gotta come in some way. But of course, at this point, the episode ends. And now we only have one episode left. And I do not know how it's almost over.
Yes.
It's almost over.
But I'm liking that we have expanded the universe and some of our favorite characters are going to other shows.
Yeah.
So we still get to experience them.
Yeah. But I'm really interested to see like how are they going to end this and set it up so that Daryl is in France, Maggie and Negan are in New York, and like we have no idea what the Rick and Michonne is. Yeah, we don't know. So I don't know. But
and then you never know that some of these characters may end up again on Fear of the Walking Dead.
That's what I was thinking too, or not even that. Like I still feel like there are probably going to be more spinoffs.
Mm-hmm.
We'll probably see some characters in these other spinoffs. I feel like so it's just a matter of how they decide to end the main show.
Yep.
But
so we will see.
We only have one more episode, so we don't have long to find out how it goes. I know Casey is not here, but we talked about having our little Deadpool. Like, who do we think is gonna die before the end of this series? Now, I will still say, I still think Jules may bite it, just because we really haven't had a chance to like get to know her character outside of her being in Oceanside and just her becoming a focus because she's in a relationship with Luke. But I don't know if I think that she's long for this world. I don't know about Luke.
Well, you already know my first one is Aaron.
Shut up. It's not happening. Nope. Nope.
I think Connie and her sister is fine.
Yeah.
I feel like we'll take it.
You know what?
I really don't know what's going to be with Princess and Mercer. I really don't know.
I don't think they're too tough. There ain't nothing to happen.
I know, but I'm just I don't.
I will say this. I was saying that once Lydia and Elijah got together, I was kind of scared. I was like, okay, now they done found happiness. One of them is gonna bite it because that's just how these things work. I think at this point now, I feel like if either one of them is gonna die, it's gonna be Elijah because Lydia has already had her arm cut off.
Yeah, she doesn't need anything else.
Right. So and then also I don't see how the writers like you cut her arm off, you make her conscious, you make her, I won't say necessarily okay, but she doesn't seem in danger of dying at this point. So I feel
you kill her the next week.
Yeah, I don't see that happening. So I think if one of them had to go, it's probably going to be Elijah, which I don't want that to happen either. I told you, I would be perfectly happy if we ended this series and none of our main people die, because we've had enough people die over the course of 11 seasons. Not everybody has to die. Like our team is strong enough, especially when they're together, which we see they're together now. I think this is the largest group we've seen in this season of them all being together, Because at the end of this, you got Daryl, you've got Judith, you've got Carol, you've got Connie, you've got Kelly, you've got Magna, you've got Yumiko, you've got Eugene, you've got Max, you've got Luke, you've got Jules. And this is all just, and you've got Ezekiel. This is all in just one group.
Right. And I don't think Ezekiel would go. I was concerned for Annie, but Annie's not. I don't feel like she's going to be in the episode next week.
No, because I think she's
in a
really
different location.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like she's now safe because I thought she was going to pass away.
They better not kill a pregnant woman. They've done that already. We don't need to see that again. I'm trying to think. Now
I really was like Aaron. It was really Aaron.
Whatever. You were saying Aaron and Jerry, and I'm saying no to neither one of them.
I'm not necessarily thinking it's Jerry. I'm gonna say okay. I'm not.
I think Casey may have said Jerry. You think Gabriel's gonna well, okay, so I know that there is a preview, a sneak peek for next week's episode where we see Gabriel, Rosita, and Eugene. They have found the city home for the children, and it's been run over by walkers. So of course Rosita thinks that Coco is dead, and then she hears a baby crying. She runs down the hall to a room. Coco is up under a crib. So the crib has been turned upside down, kind of trapping her like she's behind bars. Mm-hmm. So I'm guessing that at the point that the home became overrun with the walkers, whoever was watching the babies put the crib but they put the crib over the baby so that they, I guess the walkers couldn't get to them. So maybe they actually were trying to protect the babies, because who knows, not everybody in the Commonwealth is evil. So the people in the city children's home, when they got those babies brought to them, Pamela could have told them anything. Oh, the moms disappeared. They left. They could have told them anything.
Well, they could be in the house still. They could be the walkers, because one walker get in and then turn them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
They may not have went anywhere. So
yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Whoever was watching the kids, they thought enough of those kids to turn the crib over so that the babies wouldn't be easily exposed. Because if you have a child in a crib, think about it. You can literally reach into the crib and grab the child. Mm-hmm. But if the crib is turned over to where the kids can't get out and things can't get in, yeah, you can reach in for them. But those babies are old enough to know when something scary is near them, and they're going to stay away. They can at least scoot back or do something like that. So you see that in the clip. Rosita runs into the room. A walker grabs her. She knocks that walker out. She pulls out a gun. She shoots one walker. She turns around, shoots that walker. There's another walker on the floor grabbing through the bars trying to get to the baby. And you see Coco in there hollering. And I think there's another baby in there. I think Jerry's baby is in there too. So you see those babies crying. You see the walker trying to get to it. Rosita kicks that walker. She shoots it several times. And then she lifts up the crib and she reaches down to grab Coco. And then, of course, the sneak peek ends. So it's safe to say that she rescues her child. Now, the other thing that tripped me out was in the promo, the trailer for the last episode. You see a lot of different things going on. But one of the things that you see is Rosita jumping over a herd of walkers to try to climb up, what you call that thing? The little thing that rainwater comes down. Why can my mind just went blank?
It's the gutter. It could be the gutter pipe, because
yes,
the gutter's at the top,
whatever that thing is. So you see her climbing up on that, and Gabriel and Eugene are in the window, like reaching down, trying to grab her. My question is, if y'all started out in the children's home together, how the hell did y'all get up in the window safe and sound, and Rosita and her baby are still down with the walkers? I'm confused. Because if anything, Rosita should have been the first one up, and then one of them, I don't know. we're gonna have to wait and see. But I was so confused when I saw that, because I was like, if y'all left her down, like, I'm wondering if maybe they got separated and they had to, because I can't see, especially considering Gabriel views Coco as his own daughter.
Right.
I just don't see him being like, oh, okay, well, I'm just gonna leave you to fend for yourself. I don't see that. And plus, him and Rosita, they may not be together anymore, but he still cares about her. Yep. So I'm so confused. I know that trailer is meant to like amp us up for this final episode, but I was like, I don't like this. And I know there has been some speculation, because people have been saying on Twitter, like, because she has Coco in a carrier in front of her, some people are thinking she's going to get Lori's comic book death, because in the comic books, Lori is shot, and because she's holding Judith in a carrier in front of her, the bullet goes through Lori's back, comes out her stomach, and it goes through Judith. So Lori and Judith die together in the comics. Judith never makes it to the age she is now, because she dies as an infant. So some people are like, oh, that's probably going to be Rosita. I was like, y'all are not speaking that shit into existence. No, we will not. No, we will not be killing.
Yeah, I've heard that.
We will not be killing the baby. So. Absolutely not. No, because I understand people want a major death. Why would you want to depress your fans after 11 years by killing a baby in the last episode? I just don't see that happening. I don't see that happening. I mean, I understand that people were thinking that Aaron was going to get Rick's death because of the similarities between his real character and Rick's comic character. But we see Sebastian got his ass eaten, so we know that's not happening. So we don't have to have every comic book death. No, y'all want things to be comic accurate, and then when some shit like Glenn's death happens, y'all get pissed off and stop watching the show. So no, let's stop trying to give people other people's comic book deaths. We don't have to do it. We don't want it. I don't want it. Period. So that's my 2 cents. I don't want it. We only have 1 episode left. And on that one, we will have all 3 of us. Casey will be back for that one. Michelle will be back. I will be back. So, because I mean, it's the series finale. We have to all be here to talk about it.
Yes.
And then again, Casey and I are going to be in LA to watch it with everybody else. So I'm so excited. But yeah. Do you have anything else to say about this episode? Aside from that bitch needs to die. She needs to die. Oh, this was the other thing that Casey and I forgot to talk about in the last episode. I didn't see them reference it in this episode, so I'm wondering if it's going to come up next episode. So when Aaron and them started walking with the dead, Lydia was carrying a knife, and they're walking along. One of the walkers bumped into her, and she lost her knife. It got knocked out of her hand. Now, there was a walker walking a few feet behind her that fell on the ground, was crawling to get up, grabbed the knife, stood up. So now there's a walker. There's a walker with a knife, and it was very clearly a variant walker, because you could tell it was dead. It wasn't a whisper or anything like that. But now there's a variant walker with a knife. Does a variant walker even know what to do with a knife?
Yeah, just like the one knew what to do with the rock.
I hope not. Picked up. That's not a scenario I want to see.
But I think it reminded us again that we were going to see it in this episode, and we did, because they were climbing.
Yeah, but we didn't see the one with the knife. Now, what would have been not necessarily funny, but it would have been funny if, like, the walker that climbed up and got the soldier, if he had the knife, because I would have been like, oh, okay, so they clearly know what to do with it. But I mean, not all. We don't know whether or not all variant walkers have the same abilities. We just don't know. True. Some of them may be able to climb. Some of them may be able to bend down and pick up rocks. Some of them may be able to, open doorknobs. We don't know. And the other thing is, if it's taken us this long to get variant walkers, especially in this part of the country, because we didn't see them when they were in Virginia, in Alexandria. We didn't really see them too much in Georgia, except for at the beginning of the series. We saw it with Morgan's wife. We saw it with the walkers who were at the department store because a walker did have a rock and was trying to, get into the department store when Rick and Andrew and all of them were there. So I'm wondering, is this something regional? Is it something in their biology? Like, what causes them? Because for us to have so many in one particular group, that seems kind of odd too. But I don't know. I don't know. But a variant walker walking around with a knife. Judith has been shot. Most of our people are fighting a herd full of walkers, and they are locked into this, they've been barricaded into this one little section. Pamela Mercer is a bitch. And now even her most loyal soldiers know it. Yeah, they got a lot to do in the next episode. I'm not ready, but I don't think we'll ever be. So there's nothing left to do but wait for it, watch it, and then talk about it.
Yes, ma'am.
So we will do that when Casey is with us. I hope you guys are ready, because we are not. We'll see how that goes. So for now, that is it for our show. You can find us online at www.fandomhybrid.com. We are on social media on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Fandom Hybrid. You can watch our videos on our YouTube channel, including my reaction video to this particular episode. I will link it in the show notes. You can chat with us on our Discord channel, and you can listen to us on all major podcast streaming platforms. Thanks for listening. We hope you join the conversation next time.